I'm just kind of messing around here. I'm having a kind of a fun time, actually. So,
are you using Ableton?
Yeah, that's my.
Why is it called that?
Because they're German, so they just call things with things. I just want to see. Can you hear this? Hang on. How'd you like that? This is what I was doing today. Nice. It's kind of got a Mayfield vibe, maybe a bit. Went down to my space, play some drums.
I can't really hear you talking, but it sounds great. This is where like the strings should come in if it was Curtis feel.
100%. Yeah,
and you need some congas too.
There's some congas in there, but they're a bit quiet for sure. I admit that.
You know me. You know that I'm guilty.
Guilty as charged.
As by many people we know say that I like percussion too hot on the records I make. I've been battling with people for a long time. I'm a big
kind of, I don't know about you, but I like to use, I always find the 500 series API 560 EQ very convenient on percussion. I like it because it's a graphic equalizer, and I find that just for whatever reason, I just, you can find the way the bands are focused. You can find kind of like the wooden sounds around 1 and 2K, but you can get right into that 16K air band too.
Oh, so yeah.
That's just personally my...
We have a friend of the pod, Trevor Spencer, who I think will really respond to a lot of this kind of stuff.
I think he's probably, yeah.
Like for me, I just, I'm not as smart about this stuff as you guys, so I just turn it up too loud when I make records, I just tell them to turn it the fuck up, man. That's what I say.
That's more of a Beatles-y approach.
More kind of rock and roll approach, I think,
I actually just
turn it up, dude. I don't even care what you do. Don't talk to me about all this fucking nerdy shit. Just turn it up, man. That's what I say.
Not wrong. This is the last Wednesday episode of the year, I think.
Yeah, amazing. So, what a year.
What a year it's been for the pod. And I just want to say to everybody, to our Patreon listeners and our patrons, thank you so much for making this year great. But also, we want to grow. And I want you guys to help us with that by just telling everyone you know that there's this great podcast, which you're not even really sure why you listen to it, but you keep listening to it. Not even really sure what they're talking about, but it's something kind of to do with classic rock.
There's a way you could explain it too. You could just say there's something happening here.
And I don't know.
What it is ain't exactly clear.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys doing this podcast telling me all about...
I gotta beware.
Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton was in the...
Beatles?
Plastic Ono Band.
I did.
What's that all about?
Well, not really. Well, yeah, I guess, because I guess they did that, live 1969 Toronto thing, where John was just... John's so weird that he just thought it was cool to, he was in the Beatles, but what he wanted to do was just do a show in Toronto and play the blues with Chuck Berry and stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's you're in the most cutting edge band ever, but to him it was cooler to just do Johnny Be Good and have it sound really bad. Yeah. To a crowd of 50,000. Yeah. To a crowd of 50,000 with Yoko kind of hanging around and Clapton just bombed out of his skull.
You ever eat these? I'm eating these little kind of Christmas style tangerines, clementines.
I do, yeah. I'm more of a mandarin guy. Yeah, but
it's a mandarin, but it's
the small ones.
I eat 10 of these a day.
That's good for you.
Every time I stop to think, and this is I instead of thinking, I just go and eat another one of those little mandarins. They're great, honestly. Quince jelly, cheddar. Kind of a couple of cars, water biscuits, and some mandarins. That's about it.
That's your diet.
What did you have for Christmas dinner?
Mom made a turkey.
That's nice. I made some short crust pastry tarts.
Ooh.
With some, I'm going to do a little bit of translation for our English our British listeners compared to our American listeners and our Canadian listeners.
Okay.
You can help me along the way. They were just basically pasties. I think we call them pastries in Canada. And it was a short crust pastry, maybe a pâté brisé, I think. Maybe it's called, probably in Canada, that's the closest one. I don't know if there's a short crust here. We call it like pie crust, I think, in Canada. In America,
I guess pastry. Pastry is the crust,
and I think
right?
it's a pâté brisé in probably Quebec. And then I filled it with onions. They're the same here and everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere.
Waiting for that.
Yeah. I think that I used swede, which I believe is a rutabaga here.
Suede, it's pronounced.
Is it? Yeah, blue suede shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Blue rutabaga shoes.
Yeah.
I think it's called rutabaga.
Uh-huh.
A little bit of thyme, rosemary, oregano.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see how it's a minefield I'm walking in at all times. People think it's easy being English. And actually, there's a lot of things. I used actually some basil. And you have to learn how to do this stuff.
Translation.
People just think traduction.
Well, my father's from Northern Ireland, so a lot of the kind of food talk around here was more to the British dictionary than it was to the US. We're more like a UK dictionary, Oxford.
Yes, not a Webster's.
No.
More of an Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's really funny because my parents, when I was growing up, my dad had a collection of encyclopedias from England from like the 19th century, like from the 1850s, and a whole, A to Z. We're talking 25 books.
A to Z, yeah.
A to Z, yeah. Sorry, God, wow.
Yeah, it's hard, right?
And it was really funny because when I was in high school and we were doing Shakespeare or something, the easy way for me to cheat would be to just, because no one had these books, they were so old, and I'd go and just read about Hamlet and then just literally just paraphrase from these encyclopedias.
Brilliant.
But a lot of it was like in Old English and stuff like that. So
Shakespeare actually wrote in modern English, but a lot
no,
of
I mean the encyclopedias were. When I say Old English, I mean
oldie English.
Dated.
You mean
language?
Dated language.
I don't mean old with an e on the end.
No.
This is not a Canterbury Tales Chaucer thing.
This isn't the kind of Chaucer thing. Middle Earth.
Middle Earth kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've been digging really deep into this kind of Beatles, Lord of the Rings thing because I'm convinced now that this is what Peter Jackson had in mind, and I'm getting a little closer. I think it's going to take a couple more podcasts to really figure it out.
Yeah, I'm thinking we could do a family tree. Mm-hmm. Me and you just, when you're back, we could get together, have a cup, play some dice, have a couple of beers, and really, really get into the truth of which Beatles character within their world is you're going to be represented within the Lord of the Rings world. Clapton's an issue. Speaking of him, maybe he's Boromir because he's going to try and kill somebody.
He might be. Yeah, so he might be. Yeah. He does seem kind of like a Boromir. I mean, I'm definitely wrong about John being Boromir. And John's the one I'm having the most trouble figuring out who his character is. I spoke to Alex on the phone about this today because she saw our soundbite and thought it was hilarious.
I'm glad you
did. She right away, she was like, well, who's Sauron? And I was like, oh.
The 80s.
The future of music.
Yeah, the future of music.
But then I realized, no, she was like, oh, Sauron is Spotify.
Sure,
and then I was like, so Mordor is actually the future of music in general.
Mordor's a place, though. Sauron is just like a kind of strange, ephemeral idea. It's just a fire. Mordor is like maybe the 80s,
the future, exactly. Mordor,
Mordor is kind of definitely
Mount Doom.
Mordor is like maybe I don't know. Yeah, I mean, perhaps it's like nightclubs, like modern, the DJ maybe.
Mount Doom is like kind of a dark, like a club you go to in 2004 when you realize, wow, nobody gives a shit about any of this stuff I like.
Yeah,
that's when you get there.
When you go in and they're playing Justice.
Yeah,
and
also kind of
LCD
interesting.
sound system. kind of like an indie dance party playlist on Spotify could be more.
Perhaps I would be very interested to know what you would put on that indie dance party playlist, James. And I think maybe for some of our fans, we should make that playlist.
An indie dance party playlist. Yeah, we've tried
Early
once
2000.
before. Let's do it. Let's do that. It can be for the patrons only.
Yeah.
And anyone who has any ideas for songs that they think that they would like to see on a classic We Don't Fit In at the time that this is on all the time. Kind of Peter Bjorn and John Justice, LCD Sound System, feel, kind of Hot Chip, maybe?
Yeah. Do yourself a favor and picture me, Johnny Payne, on a dance floor in 2004 trying to fit in dancing to LCD Sound System. And I'll tell you, wasn't a pretty sight. It really wasn't. Yeah. But then I'd go to some other place and they'd put on, Twist and Shout. Oh, and I kind of knew how to move to that.
The Mod Club was good. Yeah.
Ice Cream Social.
I used to DJ the Ice Cream Social. Man. I used to have my 45s out there.
That's rad.
Great time.
Mod Night in Victoria is where we used to go. Hugo's was the bar.
I'll tell you, there was a night in Vancouver years ago where I can't remember what it was at the Unicorn. I remember it really well. And I used to DJ.
The Royal Unicorn?
Yeah, it was at the Royal Unicorn. And I'd only been here like a year, but I was lucky that Trevor and Cam let me. I don't know why they just kind of were very generous and they let me DJ with them at the Ice Cream Social, and I would come with 45s because I genuinely didn't know any other way. And somehow there was this, but they were all in the scene. And there was a night. It was really funny. It was like there was a night at the Royal Unicorn, like a My Gay Husband night, where like. I honestly actually think Justice, the band, was playing in town. So it was like no one was going to be at the Royal Unicorn. It was like, so, and obviously because they were like the absolute quintessential hit band in Vancouver at that moment, no one who was going to DJ there at like one of his nights, like, I don't know what it was, Half Alive or one of those things, like no one wanted to DJ. So they asked me to DJ at the Royal Unicorn on like a Saturday night at his night, and it was always very generous with money, Jason, like a really generous guy. So
yeah. Definitely.
I was like amazing, and I was well aware that I was going and there was going to be nobody there because everyone was going to be at this Justice show, and this would be like, I was there with like Frankie and like probably some girl Frankie was dating at the time or something or other, and I was playing like. I was playing like kind of Motown and stuff, and there was like barely anyone there. But then word got in that the show had been cancelled.
Oh.
The Justice show got cancelled or like moved, or like the after party got moved, or it was off. So suddenly like everyone had to come. And everyone showed up. It was heaving in there suddenly. And I was like having the best time of my life until the DJs all showed up and were like, we'll take over from here, buddy. You can go and just have a drink now. And they paid me like more than I was meant to get paid to stop DJing because I was playing like, Mockingbird or something by like,
James Taylor.
Yeah, I was playing Blackbird. No, I was playing some good stuff. It was kind of a Northern Soul feel, but they wanted to be playing, young folks.
You know what? I know we're only talking about record 1 of the White Album tonight.
Yeah.
But
can I just actually clarify with that?
Yeah.
So we're ending at Julia?
We're ending at Julia tonight.
Okay,
I'm not going to... For all the patrons and friends and fans and family listening, James and I are doing a very fun thing where tonight we're doing side 1 of the White Album, and tomorrow night we're doing side 2, and I'm very excited about it. There'll be 2 separate episodes, and side 2 will be only for the patrons.
Yeah, only for our super fans.
I will not be discussing a word of side 2 tonight.
You won't get anything out of me.
You won't hear it. Aside from this one thing, and then I'm going to stop, which is that when I used to DJ, I found that birthday would actually rule somehow on the dance floor, which was crazy. That's it. I'm done.
My sort of secret Beatles song for that would be like "Hello, Goodbye."
Yeah, that one's cool too.
That really works for whatever reason.
Yeah, but I put it on birthday one night, and I was just like, it just was. People went for it.
Just feeling it.
Do you know that? I'll tell you a quick story about me
obviously,
DJing.
Helter Skelter is really good too.
That's good. Hey, side 2.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So I'll edit that out.
a great story about me DJing really quick. I used to
Because I'm
DJ.
sure everyone's fucking pumped to listen to me and you tell our fledgling DJ stories.
It's quick. It's funny. I was DJing at the Waldorf in the Tiki Bar.
Oh, I've been
with
there.
Dan Calusi, and this was kind of before some of these records were like kind of hot records
Known.
to play now. I mean, obviously at the time they
So
were
you
in
were
the
saying
70s.
you're a bit of a trailblazer, kind of
Well,
blues
like kind of
breaker.
like a retro trailblazer in some way.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of running out of stuff to play, and I had this Boz Scaggs record, Silk Degrees.
Of course, yeah.
And I was
Classic.
like, I don't know if this is too cheesy. This was like 2010 or something. And I was like, I don't know if this is too cheesy. And Dan was like, just put it on, dude.
See what happens.
So I threw on Lowdown,
Of course.
and the place went
Erupted.
crazy. And then this dude who'd been playing downstairs in a jazz band stood up at the same time as like the solo in the song and pulled out a tenor saxophone, went out into the dance floor and started soloing, and then came up to the DJ booth just ripping a solo
Nice.
on Lowdown. It was one of the
That's
highlights.
one of the highlights of your life. Was that when you were living at the Waldorf?
It was. It was. Yeah.
You know,
And they used to. I was like, they used to let people live there and pay their rent by DJing, which I thought was a total joke. And I used to go to some of the DJ nights, and they were so bad, and no one would go.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Tom, I was like, if you just even give me half my rent off, I'll DJ and like try to set up a really cool night here. He didn't go for it.
I DJ'd there the week it opened, another Jason kind of moment, and me and Malcolm DJ'd in the upstairs. He had this like idea, it's gonna be like Fabric in England, like London, like rooms upon rooms of different like kind of themed DJs, and we had the Tiki Bar, and it was only like records. And actually, you know what? We were doing that at the time. I thought he was a dick, and I got to know him. This guy Phil, and I was like, "Fuck, this guy's down here." Like,
I know Phil, blonde guy.
well, no, Phil. He's passed away now. Phil Weston.
jeez.
And well, listen, we lose some of the greats. That's how it works on this. It's an impossible way of life, and it certainly was at times for him. And rip to a real one, because he was a great guy. But I remember being pissed as fuck that he was down there, because me and Malcolm were DJing, playing like Dr. John, and like Tom had asked Phil to come and like make sure we had the vibe right in the room. You know what I mean? And I thought we were nailing it. And then I think me and Malcolm did 1 week. It was packed. I thought we were fucking on the money. And then we got told, like, don't come back. And Phil just took over and did it and played like, like Can and stuff. It was cool.
Whatever.
Like, he was cool. Like, it was cool. And,
It was weird, man. You're right about the cutting edge kind of retro, like, whatever you called me, trailblazer or something.
Yeah, you're a bit
like
of a
there was a
trailblazer.
bit of that though. That there was like
Yeah.
you and I, like with your 45s at Ice Cream Social, but there were these other DJs who were like, they would play like Can and stuff that was like really cool and arty.
Yeah.
But I feel like we probably knew it's like, if you really want to get the party started, throw on like
Back in the USSR.
throw on "Come See About Me" by the Supremes.
Yeah. No problem. Or like Nothing But a Heartache by the Flirtations. Or
Nobody-
California Soul by Marlena Shaw.
Exactly. "Nobody But Me" by the Human Beans.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just keep me hanging on.
Exactly. "Along Comes Mary," the Association.
I would go
That
like
kind of-
Rubbernecking by Elvis.
Yeah, I would throw on like "Poke Salad Annie" by
Tony Joe White. Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you were going to like double down and be like, okay, he's playing Elvis. Well, I'm going to play Elvis is Elvis.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You know?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I understand. Yeah.
And then I'd probably-
Brown Eyed Girl, maybe.
Definitely. You could easily throw on "Brown Eyed Girl." And then I'd need to take a smoke break, and I'd just put on Marvin Gaye, "Gotta Give It Up," which would go for like 10, 12 minutes.
At least you're going to play the whole thing. It'd be rude if you didn't. People.
Yeah,
would think
and I
you
used to
didn't
really
realize.
worry because I had a really beat up copy.
Okay.
And so like it would kind of be fucked up, and I'd be like, I could be
Yeah.
out here smoking right now, and it might just stop playing. But that's a risk you take.
Yeah.
When you're...
And then I might play a little bit of kind of like, I don't know, I'm thinking, some Otis. But maybe instead of playing Otis, I'm going to play like, kind of an R&B Solomon Burke version of an Otis Redding song.
That's cool.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Mustang
definitely,
Sally or something.
I'd play, I might do some Pickett.
Yeah. Well, "Land of a Thousand Dances" if you're going to really go for the wedding feel. Big chill kind of thing.
Yeah, I've often been known to go kind of like a Link Ray route.
Wow.
You know?
That's interesting. Yeah.
But you know what you can always rely on? The second side of CCR, Born on the Bayou.
That's cool.
You know,
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
like a real kind of, or Susie Q, Violent Ray, followed by the instrumental psych jam of Susie Q by CCR, which
That's
is the second
cool.
side. Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
Susie
kinda where
Q is
I
a good
was.
one. If you're just gonna throw on Stones, get the party going.
Yeah.
One Stones song. What is it?
To get the party going, Satisfaction.
Ooh, yeah. I
The
think
Last Time?
Miss You. I do.
You were always a bit more of on a cokey kind. I'm more speed. You're coke.
I like. I'd also put on Honky Tonk Women. I find people dig that.
End of the night, you can't always get what you want.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a real smoocher.
Well, you're more of a kind of '60s. Yeah, you're more that kind of
I'm a little kind of shifty, kind
tight
of tricky
striped
60s.
pants, kind of boot, like a boot feel. Whereas I'm more the kind of there's sort of like the white sneaker kind of shredded jeans vibe.
Yeah, I'm kind of definitely. There's still room within my repertoire for like a flaming groovies song.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's
You-
good stuff too. I mean,
Yeah, I like the
Well, I'll throw on
OJs.
Dwight Twilley looking for the magic, and
Sure.
nobody. That's when you get people coming up asking what it is. You know.
Yeah, and that's what you're looking for is kind of that that kind of interaction with the females of the species.
And I'm just realizing
more
right
deadly
now
than the
that we
male.
probably just created the greatest dance playlist in history in the past 5 minutes. So we did. I'm gonna listen back to this and make the playlist that we just did of
Okay.
our DJs, our combined DJ set.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
sounds great. Yeah,
Also, I would like, and I don't, if we have time, as we're doing the White Album, I want to know your perfect White Album.
I wonder if
If
we
it-
should save that for the Patreon.
We will.
episode.
It's going to be for the patrons only. No. We're not going to talk about it. But I want to each of us make a playlist
Yeah.
of our perfect as if it was one LP.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So you have to omit half the songs.
Well,
and
we
what it-
should actually look at the standard length of an LP.
Yeah, exactly. Of a Beatles LP.
No, of an LP. There's
Okay.
there's a specific length. I've run into this problem a couple of times recently. With the new Yukon record, it was a problem. We had to omit because you couldn't get each side. I think only can be 21 minutes.
Yeah, something like
you-
that.
So yeah, so we're looking at a white album condensed to 42 minutes max, but it can't be weighted side to side. So it's like if one side's 23 minutes, like that won't do. You can't put it on a record.
Okay, I'm
It
with
won't
you on that.
fit. So there's
I'll
there's
get the
some
time.
maths,
I'll get the time
or
calculator
math,
out.
as you guys.
You ever
say.
used a time calculator?
I've tried.
'Cause you
didn't
can't
really
add up
understand.
time
You
the
can't.
way
add up-
you
no
can-
one's ever done that. No one's
you
ever
can't.
been able
You got to
to
think like in 60s and
It's
stuff. It's
ridiculous.
weird.
Why do we do that? We
I
should
don't know.
change that.
It should just be like to 100 or
Hundreds.
yeah,
It's so obvious.
60. That's a weird number. Why is it that a minute?
Romans, dude.
Anyway,
listen, I just want to say that starting with back in the USSR,
just want to say before I start that it's
one of the pleasures of my life to be. We got it now.
I'm gonna do that
Robbie.
every time.
Every time
that
Yeah.
anyone says that.
Adult dose. It's an adult dose. What are you drinking?
That
nerd?
was an adult dose. I'm having a
Miss
Guinness.
Moneypenny.
I'm having a Guinness, Miss Moneypenny.
Miss Moneypenny, I'm having a Guinness.
Was a bit of an adult dose.
Lee Von Helm suddenly becoming
Elvis,
Beavis,
Johnny
Regis.
Cash, Carl Perkins. But I can't do the R. The Scottish R is a bit of a
Welcome
roll.
to Belgium. I'm Sean Connery, and I have cum in my mouth for some reason, and I'm keeping it there, and I cannot get. That's why I shot and I slap
Maybe
women.
he's just got whiskey in his mouth because the Scots, they believe that you need to keep it in your front lip.
I do appreciate
You
the fact
taste
that
the peat. You
yeah,
taste
it's
the peat.
peaty. Well, if it doesn't, you might not like a peaty approach. It doesn't have to be.
One time I was in a bar, like a fancy kind of place with my dad years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy,
I've been there.
like, he came to Vancouver. We were just like at a restaurant or something, and there was like a bar. I forget what it was. And there was this sort of snooty guy
Downtown?
there. It might have been Victoria. I can't remember where it was, but it was like a hotel bar kind of
Feels
thing.
important to know for me to set the scene.
I think it might have been the Empress Hotel,
kind of
in Victoria.
a tea kind of.
But it was at night, and it was like sort of a tasting room kind of feel.
Oh, okay, shebeen.
Yeah, and this guy said, my dad wasn't there, and I was sitting at the bar just like having a whiskey or something. They had some nice whiskeys, and this kind of Canadian sort of real, he was like probably like a realtor or something,
Yeah.
He said, the way you drink whiskey.
Nice.
And he took a sip of the whiskey, and he said, you got to keep it sitting in front of your teeth, in your lower lip, and you really taste the tea like this. And he was doing this, and he looked like a complete
Demented,
idiot.
Yeah.
And he's doing it, and he's like, that's how you really tell if it's good. And I was like, okay, whatever, And my dad walked in. One of my favorite things my dad ever did,
Yeah.
And I said, Dad, this guy says that if you're drinking whiskey, you got to put it in the front of your lip like that and hold it.
Yeah.
And my dad was just like, oh, yeah? And he said to the bartender, he's like, give me a Jameson's. The guy get it, and my dad looked at the guy, and he was like, I'm Irish. You know how we drink whiskey? And they just downed the glass of Jameson.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Dickhead like people you have to deal with in North America who try and explain to you how British culture works.
I know. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh,
you would know more than me.
Oh, it's a wonderful time. It really is. Or like they're from the border of Ireland and Scotland or something. Or
they've been to Scotland once.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah, no, I'm London.
They did a tour.
They did it. Well, I don't mind the people who do tours.
They did a whiskey tour.
I see when we could go on about that. I did a tour with a band, and there was a bit of that kind of like, now we're going to drink some real whiskeys. I was like, fuck, no one's ever done this who lives here. It's, it's kind of like, it's capitalism, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the USSR.
Right. Back in the USSR.
John Lennon, 6-string bass.
Is it? Yeah. See, he liked that. They had that Fender around, and he played it a lot.
Yeah.
Great opening track, real Paul kind of wingsy feel,
Yeah, and, Beach Boys parody?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Surf rock parody.
Yeah.
Beautiful song, great lyrics, really funny, really charming, great drum sound. Paul playing drums.
Are we going off? Is that when Ringo had left for a bit?
Yeah, he fucked off, which is ironically the same time as that Nilsson story I told, where Ringo was leaving. He was leaving to go to Spain with Maureen and kind of do whatever.
Just be a playboy.
Yeah, he was he was mad at the group.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
because he thought he wasn't. They didn't, and they all said, "Come back, Ringo.
You're the best rock drummer. You're the best rock." They wrote him a thing, best rock
drummer in the
drummer.
world.
Yeah.
He's not even the best drummer in the Beatles.
And of course, Paul never missed a chance to just jump on the throne.
Well, Ringo's I've actually heard that John is the. I was reading. You sent me actually earlier on a really interesting article about the Beatles on musicradar.com, which sounds like it was,
radar.
Sounds like it was written in either a ESL or just like a high school kind of like by a high school student. And what I really liked about it was the way they kind of like, it's about the 5 guitarist like songs you need to hear by the Beatles, the guitarists need to hear. And they suggest that Paul McCartney was the group's most rounded musician. And possibly the best guitarist, but certainly the most rounded. And how much I love this kind of terminology.
And I love how they always keep it so open-ended that they never, they're like, he possibly
there's no statement
is the most, they never make a claim. And I just love how people are just finding all these new ways to say the Beatles are good.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? It's like, the Beatles, the band The Beatles, we all know they're great, but have you ever thought that the guitar's good?
Yeah.
On some of their songs?
And
it's like, wow, hot take, man.
Yeah. But actually at the same time, this is exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100. So actually I wrote that.
Yeah. I like this part.
Myself.
I like the part where they talk about, George Harrison was the band's most thoughtful guitarist.
Yeah.
Don't know what that means, but...
no. Well, I mean, I guess he could really deliver the goods, when a moment came. It means that he didn't play much, but when he was really thinking about what he was going to play, so when he got a chance,
Right.
And I heard actually that Joe Satriani is one of the biggest fans.
I think you're correct about that, and I think that actually Joe Satriani famously said that George's solo on Something was the most creative solo ever committed to tape.
Wow. Even more creative than Surfing with the Alien?
Well, he wasn't including his own music in that.
Right.
But his music was obviously, the top.
What about John? Because John's role is kind of officially that of rhythm guitarist, based on this. Officially. But he does step out on lead several times, including on Get Back.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. However, I'd like to look a little deeper into their repertoire, maybe, and dig out 5 tracks you may not be so familiar with, James.
Yeah. Do you think the
ones they choose are really weird too?
Yeah,
All
really
My
weird.
Loving. Okay, it's like so random. Yeah. And Your Bird Can Sing,
Makes
for sure.
sense.
Everybody
Makes
knows
sense.
that's good. Like Happiness is a Warm Gun, I guess. Like it's
Guitar?
like John.
Is it like finger picking or something?
Yeah, it's about that. It's about.
Oh,
this
it's
is
about
on side
Donovan.
1, so we can talk about it.
Donovan taught him how to finger pick.
He taught him that pattern, which he also uses on Dear Prudence and Julia.
I don't know if
which is really cool.
It is. So basically, Donovan taught him how to finger pick, and he used it all over the White Album.
Only on side 1.
Yeah,
it's
and
only
also,
that finger picking style is only applied to side 1.
Yeah, he was over.
Which maybe I'm going on a really, really hot take here. I got a really hot take.
Yeah,
side 1 is John's side.
Yeah,
John's got some good stuff on the other side, which we don't talk about that. But side 1, it's got all the John magic. Maybe my favorite John stuff of the whole Beatles career.
Well, we're gonna get to it. What, Dear Prudence?
I'm So Tired, which is my favorite Beatles song.
We're not even there yet.
Well, we're doing track by track?
I think we should.
Okay, I love it. Okay, love it.
Dear Prudence. Well, since we brought it up,
you
know, how do you feel about the drums on Dear Prudence?
Well, I think, that Ringo wasn't even the best drummer in the Beatles. That's Paul as well, no?
It's Paul, yeah, but also how do you feel about, like, just the sound? Can you glean, like, anything from the sound that suggests maybe they weren't recorded at Abbey Road?
Perhaps a Trident sound?
It's kind of a Trident feel, and it was recorded at Trident.
Is that a fact?
Yes. It was recorded at Trident, which is why the drums sound so good.
Wow,
they do. They have a Trident feel.
They do sound
also
really good.
For avid listeners of the podcast, you'll notice that when we did Transformer, talked about a specific bass player. Johnny, what was his name?
Herbie Flowers.
Well, my name is Herbie Flowers, and I played on Transformer. And what I did was, you see, I was there and I knew the union rates. And what I realized was, if I played at the same time the bass and then the double bass, I'd get double the money.
I was playing on this album called Son of Schmilson, and this bloke came in, name was Harry, and he was just off in the corner having a drink.
I barely even met him. Anyway, I realized today, when researching the Plastic Ono Band, that Klaus Vormann suggests that he played on Transformer. So we've got a kind of like interesting tete-a-tete between Herbie Flowers, because we got to know who played, the Walk on the Wild Side bass line. Was it Klaus?
That is really weird. I believe it was Herbie Flowers.
Well, based on yeah.
But Klaus Vormann,
Klaus, he's such a
It is not a significant bullet.
He's a very sweet and kind man, and John was there, and we heard John's voice coming through the headphones, and it was just magic.
That's
it is not. The Walk on the Wild Side is not a significant bass line in my repertoire.
With John, it was all about passion. It was all about love.
Was
and
Klaus
music
involved in the White Album cover?
He designed the Revolver cover.
Yeah, famously, yeah.
The White Album cover. You know what, man? Can I just say,
None More Black.
What a fucking wicked cover, though.
None More.
I'm sorry. I know it is
sort of like a white. It's a
None
white
More.
mirror. It's a bit of a
Two-word
white mirror.
But it can't be whiter. 2-word review.
How much whiter could it be? And the answer is...
Do you have a numbered
none.
copy of it?
I do.
I certainly do.
I do. It's like
Yeah,
something
good. Yeah, just checking.
2,000.
Sorry to ask it. Yeah,
Under 10,000.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, it's.
I actually wouldn't
shit.
even listen
Sounds
to
like
it.
shit.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
listen to it if it was over 10,000 personally.
Well, you know they mixed it in mono.
First, yeah.
And John said, "You haven't heard the White Album unless you've heard it in mono, because that's how we mixed it as a band."
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Although, like, the mono mixes were only well, in fact, Dear Prudence is an interesting one because the mono and stereo mixes were done on the same day.
Interesting.
13th of October, 1968.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know-
Written for Prudence Farrow.
Yes.
The younger sister
in
of
India.
Media Farrow, yeah, because they were meditating and she wouldn't come out to play. She was taking meditation too seriously because John was just messing about, pretending and getting into it. And she actually was into like TM and stuff like that.
They just brought their guitars. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it
the
was
hilarious
like-
thing about
yeah.
the India trip to me is like
yeah, it
George
rules.
Harrison begged them no guitars. He said, we're going there to meditate, to like learn something. And Paul and John were just like, fuck that. We're just going to bring guitars and write all the best songs in music history, which is what they did. And thank God they did.
Thank God they asked Ringo back for Glass Onion.
Oh man, that is sick drumming. That's a banging track.
Yeah,
that's one, it was always one of my kind of white albums, sort of like, it's all right. But now I'm like, I love that song, and I love the Beatles parodying themselves. John talking about "Fool on the Hill," all that.
I don't
stuff.
like all that shit.
I love
that stuff
it.
Annoys me. I hate
like
the
it.
kind of like, here's a clue for you. Like, this kind of like self-referential, like we're the fucking shit vibe that John does because his ego's massive.
I used to hate it, but now I think it's funny.
It was
like,
gonna
if
be
it were
for-
us, we'd think it's hilarious.
It's going to be a Badfinger song, right? It was meant to be for Badfinger. He wanted to give it to them.
Yeah, it was supposed to be called. Oh, was
It
that
was-
the one that was meant to call Badfinger Boogie?
It
No,
was like
that was.
it was like for the Ivies, but then they became Badfinger. But they didn't take it.
There's a song that John wrote for them called Badfinger Boogie.
Yeah.
That's where they got the name of the band from.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember which song it was. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Glass Onion. I
Whatever.
mean, now I listen to that stuff mostly for like the arrangements, and it just sounds so good. Like the tambourine, the Beatles trick of the tambourine kind of coming in like halfway through a verse.
I love it.
And there's
Really
all
loud.
those accoutrements are the things that you kind of miss, but when you really dig in headphones, you're like, this is why this shit rocks.
And the ultimate version of that would be like, everybody's got something to hide except for me and my monkey.
Whoa. Side two
for the
buddy.
patrons. But I agree.
get
But I
there.
don't think they were doing it on purpose. I think they were just like, there was no rules, man.
It's true, but
No
I do
rules,
think
yeah.
that some of those percussive decisions the Beatles made were
Yeah,
really
and then
calculated.
you try and make them, and you think it's really cool, and then when you actually get to it, you like change your mind and turn it down, or
know.
turn it off, or
well,
like
someone
make it-
tells you to. That's why I fight with people,
Well,
and
who
you probably.
fight? You don't need to fight with anyone. It's your music.
Oh,
Who
I
you
know, but
fighting
I've
with?
had. There's a lot of There's a lot of. Well, I don't anymore, but I used to. Dave Carswell, these types.
Yeah.
The JCDC. They were kind of alphas to me as a young
I
man.
understand how that feels.
Yeah, I remember one time having to wanting the tambourine really loud in a song, and Dave wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah.
And then going to the mastering engineer and getting them to like boost
Find it.
the frequency
Yeah.
to do it that like the roundabout way of getting it up.
Fuck these people telling us what we can and can't do. This is what this podcast's actually all about.
Freedom.
It's about freedom, it's about friendship, but it's also about letting you guys know the mistakes we've made and telling you not to make them. Don't ever let anyone tell you what
Never.
to do, because it doesn't fucking matter. If you make it, the most likely scenario is no one's even going to listen to the music you make. So just do whatever you want.
And this is something you said to me, James, is that, and if they do and they hear something loud, they'll think it was a creative decision
Of
that
course.
you made to
Well,
make
you
it that
always
loud.
think that.
Yeah.
Whenever you never listen to the Beatles and think they accidentally left the tambourine loud.
No.
You just assume, like, no one, if you do listen to music like that, like where you're like critiquing it all the time, then go fuck yourselves. You shouldn't listen to this podcast. I don't want to be around you. I would run a mile from it. Like, everyone listens to music for pure joy. No one's ever listened except for like David Frick and been like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, like, interesting DB decision that they made here on the tambourine. And you'll notice, actually, it's pure joy.
That's why I didn't even sleep that night when you talked to me about Paul or whoever editing John's acoustic guitar flub in two of us. I'm like, are you fucking joking
edited.
me? Who the hell do you think you are to mess with that record?
Mess with greatness.
30 years later. That's John Lennon did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck off.
What's left of him?
There's nothing perfect about being human, and music is the ultimate expression of humanity.
What about, how do you feel about Obla Di Obla Da?
I fucking hate that song. I don't like it anymore.
Paul wanted to be the first single.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably better than any song I've ever written, but you know what? I don't think it is. I used to always say that the worst Beatles song was better than anything I'd written, but I think I've got enough confidence now to say that's not true, and I think that I've written maybe one or two better than Obla Di Obla Da.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But Obla Di Obla Da, I don't know, man. It's Paul, kind of beginning his path into like
Wingsian.
Well, and just
Wingsian
this thing,
folly.
Yeah, where he believes that like this kind of like Beatlesy pastiche stuff is like part of what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
Like for some reason he's like, you see him in the Get Back stuff where he's kind of like, okay, guys, I know it's a joke, but we got to do this.
Yeah.
Because it's like part of what we do. Maxwell's Silver Hammer, Obla Di Obla Da, like this is our thing, And you see George and John are kind of like, why? Like, why is this? Why can't you just do like, oh, darling all the time and like, Martha, my dear, like that shit rules.
Listen, to live past your myth is a perilous thing. And that's what's happening on this stuff.
I like that. Who said that?
Anne Carson, Canadian writer.
But
it's true with this this is like the example. It's like, it's Paul McCartney believing in the myth of Paul McCartney and the Beatles and writing the music that he thinks people think he should be writing. It's strange kind of, feedback loop, but
living within your own myth. Like,
exactly. It's a perilous thing to do that, and you start kind of becoming the person that you think other people think you are or something. Yeah. And that's why Lennon hated it.
Yeah. He definitely, I concur with you. I know he hated that song.
Dude, it's white reggae. It's so bad.
Oh. What comes after it?
Honey Pie.
Wild Honey Pie.
Wild Honey Pie.
Which I actually think's kind of cool in like an art. I mean, the White Album is like, it's a tapestry, right? A bit.
I think it's just that like they just recorded like the best record ever and thought, how do we make a better record? We could either try really hard or we could just throw fucking everything at it and let it be a tapestry. Like let it be a kind of like a Jackson Pollock.
To me, it's exactly. I think it's such a beautiful record because it's the first time that the Beatles really had the guts to know we can do anything. And that's why it's such an important counterculture record and everything, because the first time Sgt. Pepper's did it, but then they were like, man, we can really, really branch out and make any kind of music we want, and we can make a cover that has fucking nothing on it. Yeah. And we can make sounds, we can make tape loops, we can do all this stuff, and we're the Beatles. And I think that's why, in my opinion, it's kind of the most free record that had been made to that date, like you could argue some jazz and stuff for sure, but
some trad jazz in the 50s.
Yeah, I mean, but I just think that it's like you say, pure abstract expressionism that, for pop rock and roll.
Yeah, within the world of pop. I mean, Wild Honey Pie, isn't that one of the meditation ones? Weirdly,
it's just kind of got some like, it's Paul. It's got to be all Paul. It's like a McCartney.
I know Patty Harrison really liked it.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's just like him doing like weird kind of acoustic guitar,
maybe.
Weird acoustic. It's not even a song, is it?
No, it's like a minute long or something.
Yeah, it's just like a. It's like a. I like that stuff.
It's only like Paul on it. No one else plays on it.
No,
right?
it's like him. On Self Portrait, like the Dylan. To me, it's a similar record because, like, it's kind of just a sort of a bridge track or something.
Yeah, it's a single
into,
jam.
I'm sure, I can't think of the track listing right now, but I know
I can
the one
tell
that
you what comes next.
What the continuing story of Bungalow Bill, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they met him in Rishikesh or something too. He's
Also,
another one
kind
those
of a
guys.
weird one, a weird one for John.
It's all Paul. No one else plays on him.
No, Bungalow Bill.
Yeah, it's all Paul. That's what I mean. It's just
That's
him.
all Paul
He fucking plays everything.
on Bungalow Bill.
Yeah, the whole thing. It's just him. And again, it's him doing like, it's him code switching. Like, all the children sing. Like, all this kind of crazy stuff.
But Ringo's back, right?
No,
At
it's
that
just Paul.
Really? Ringo's
Yeah.
not drumming on
No,
that? I thought he was.
Fuck, Ringo's like, he's like at the Gaucho, like, doing drugs in a velvet tux, having a great time.
Is that right? I didn't know Paul. That makes sense. That's why it's probably bad. Maybe John had a better idea for that
They
one.
wouldn't fucking touch
And Paul
it.
wouldn't even stand for
No.
couldn't. Yeah. John was like, all right, fine.
Yeah, fine. You know, he was like, yeah, fine. Let's, like, you know, like, I'll do happiness as a one. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
That'll
yeah.
be mine. John was kind of picking his battles.
he was, yeah.
And he's like, you get to happiness and I'm so tired. And he's like, you know what? Just rip the bass and let me handle this.
Yeah.
And fuck, it rules, dude.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So there is a lot of Paul fluff on this first side, man.
That's what I mean. It's
Fuck,
not a
it's
Paul
brutal.
side for me.
No.
It's not a Paul side
There's
for
some
me.
fluff on this side. It's interesting that they sequenced it that way, too. I guess there's
Yeah.
no real reason.
So
Maybe.
can I tell you about the sequencing,
I'm
which I
desperate
always
to
thought
know.
was
Desperate to know.
I always thought was kind of like the ultimate like drunk party like dream that like they finished the record
Yeah.
and then they all decided that the funnest way to sequence it
Yeah.
would be for all of them to stay up all night in the studio and party and decide on the sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody left, and the 4 Beatles stayed and listened to the fucking song. You can imagine keyed
Yes.
as hell.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and stayed and listened. And in the morning at 6 a.m., they had the track listing and it never changed.
Wow.
I just thought that was such a like fun thing. Imagine listening to that and being like the boys just talking about it. You
But
know?
you're just also like, fuck, we fucked it up.
Yeah, maybe they messed it up. Though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
What comes after Bungalow Bill though? Then it starts to get good.
Georgie
again.
Boy, While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ayo, boom, ba bum. That's great intro.
Yeah, it's cool.
That piano. Yeah.
It's good.
Great
you know,
song, obviously. George is never bad.
Well, he's a thoughtful guy. He's like,
Yeah, he is.
based on musicradar.com's ranking system, they rank them like they talk about the Beatles as if they're like either elite athletes or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like George is the thoughtful one.
Yeah.
John is the serious one.
Ringo really likes anchovies.
And yeah, exactly. But they all like pizza. But he likes anchovies, and and India is their Japan. They all worship instead of it like being a rat named Splinter, it's like they all respect and worship Indian Maharishi kind
so
of.
now I love that we've got the Lord of the Rings thing going.
They're
But now we're
also-
also
yeah.
it's dream and Splinter's George Martin, obviously.
No, Splinter's Ravi Shankar.
Oh, this only corresponds to their India stuff.
Yeah, it's the White Album. We're
I
doing
see.
the White
Okay.
Album here. There's plenty of there's plenty of roads you can go down, but in this one, Ravi Shankar. Well, no, it's not Ravi. It's like the Maharishi. What was his name again?
Yeah, Maharishi.
That guy. So George is probably Donatello.
Oh, it's very clear that George is Raphael. He's the moody one, kind of the outsider.
Was Raphael the moody one in the?
Yeah, he was the moody one, the
Turtles?
outsider, kind of different.
Michelangelo's Ringo.
Michelangelo's
the fun
fun
guy,
guy, the
kinda
party
playboy,
guy, and then Leonardo is John. He's kind of serious.
Okay.
And Donatello's Paul.
Just by virtue of him being the only one
They're
left.
both leaders, Donatello and Leonardo. But
I thought
Donatello's more
Raphael
friendly.
and Leonardo were more the leading.
No,
two.
Raphael's the moody outsider.
But Donatello had the cool sticks.
There's no more greater comparison in all of pop culture than George Harrison being Raphael in the Ninja Turtles. Trust me. I feel like they probably based it on that.
Interesting.
The
So
Turtles.
who's April Preston or whatever her name is?
April O'Neil.
April O'Neil.
She's a Linda McCartney type. I think.
Oh, because she's
kind of
like
a journalist, photojournalist kind of thing. Like, yeah.
And then like, who's Shredder?
Friend of the group. Shredder is Shredder's like
Mick Jagger.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know.
Brian Wilson? No, because it's a bad guy kind of.
They liked him. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Bad guy. Yeah. I don't know.
Clapton is maybe
Alan Klein's the
Krang.
only bad guy I can think of in their whole
Krang.
thing. Like,
Well, like Bebop and Rocksteady.
Shredder's like maybe like who's the guy who killed John Lennon? You know, he finally got
Oh,
him.
that guy.
Mark Chapman.
Mark.
I don't even like to speak his name.
No, he just got denied parole. It's okay.
Fuck him.
Okay, well, we figured that out. That's cool.
Happiness comes after While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Well, I
right?
was just going to say that I was really, this is the kind of shit I live for. You know, with While My Guitar Gently Weeps, George was reading the I Ching. I don't know if you know this. When he decided himself that songwriting should be written based on chance. So he took a book off the shelf, intending to write a new song based on the first words he read, which were "Gently Weeps." And
wow.
So, so is history.
That's amazing.
How about that? Didn't you say that John Lennon finished the lyrics to this one because George was being too thoughtful?
No, I've never heard that. I think George. I've heard of John. I've heard recordings of John helping George with the lyrics to something.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I've heard. But the hilarious thing about those recordings, dude, it was the best thing I ever heard. You can look it up. Anyone listening, is that it's George talking to John and saying, "I just, I just can't finish the song. I've got the song and I can't." The part that he's wondering about is, "You're on the moon, I'll go." He doesn't know, and he's talking to John, and John's suggestions of what the lyrics should be are the worst things I've ever heard. He says you should say, "What do you know, Mr. Show?" And John, he's like defending it in the audio. He's like, "What do you know, Mr. Show? It's kind of funny, blah, blah, blah." And George is like, "Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm still thinking about." And it made me realize in this really beautiful way that even the Beatles weren't always perfect. They had to work to figure out the right lyrics to things too, just like the rest of us.
It's Paul. Like, okay, so like Happiness is a Warm Guns next, which is like as good as the record gets.
As good as music gets.
Yeah, exactly. And it's John again just being like, picking his battles and being like, I got the best ones, so don't worry about it. And it's funny because Paul's always all over them. Like, it's never like, there's never any John songs where it's like just him. Like, Paul's always like, I'm getting on it.
Yeah.
And this is a good one. When John has a good song, everyone shows up.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone rules.
Rips. I mean, that's like a song. What would you call it? How do you describe that, James? A trilogy? A 3-part song.
This song?
Yeah, Happiness is a Warm Gun. A song in 3 parts. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That kind of thing, Yeah,
it's all about sex in it.
It's got the wonderful intro. It's got the middle part that I need to fix. Yeah. I always thought it was more. It's drugs and sex mixed, right?
I think it's sex. I think it's all like Yoko. I think he's just like fucking Yoko.
I need to fix because I'm going down. Like I need to fuck again away.
It's darkness. Yeah, it's like John's darkness and like his lurid sex life, and he's like in love, and it's like love is painful, and it's like the sexual side of it. I don't think it's.
I'm getting chills thinking about it this way.
Doing drugs, like I don't think. And the Warm Gun's really phallic. I always thought it was just like.
That's a beautiful take, man. That's a beautiful take, man.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It's way sexier song when I think about it that way.
Yeah, it's dark. It's like
than it being about
eaten
drugs.
Alive by Yoko's pussy. You know what I mean?
Bang, bang, shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude. Eat. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
And I feel my finger on your trigger. Yeah, man.
It's all sex. Yeah, I think.
Intense.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
super
that
intense in that sense, yeah. Wow. The imagery is really phallic, so I just think, and I think it's just when he just met Yoko. Like, he's just like, it's White Album's like him getting into this like heady world of like cultural culture and art where like he's in it instead of outside of it. You know, he's just like in this like, you know, in India even, and like coming back and he's like in art galleries climbing up that ladder and stuff, and he's like into Yoko and she's showing him different possibilities and hypnotizing him.
Oh, it's such a good song. It just sounds so good too. Paul's bass though too is amazing.
Well, yeah, because Paul is. Well, I mean, he's the most rounded musician.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
it goes to Martha, My Dear.
Well, that's Paul's version of Sex. Yeah,
and about his dog.
It's about his dog. Song about his dog called Martha, My Dear. Also recorded at Trident.
Controversial. My favorite Paul song on the whole album.
It's a good song.
I love it. I think it's such an amazing song.
Yeah.
And I think that it showcases that, in my opinion, this is like a high school kind of ESL music radar take, that he is the most advanced musician in the group.
Most rounded.
And, you know, it's one of those things that you listen to that piano part and that composition, and you just think, how do you write a song like this?
Sure.
You know, like when I hear Happiness is a Warm Gun, I'm like, okay, like I pick up the guitar, I play the A minor descending riff. I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, I could see, but Martha, My Dear is like, is key changes. It's you know, it's Beach Boys.
He's kind of in that Beach Boys kind of like hearing things in his head vibe.
And it's a great George Martin, great horns. It's a real Beatlesy track to me.
With a Trident feel, though.
You telling me that was recorded at Trident too?
Sorry, buddy. Yeah, it was.
A lot of Let It Be, too. We didn't get into that.
You know my only note I've got for Martha, My Dear?
What?
An unusually excessive amount of tape hiss, if you listen to it.
Wow.
Which, you know, again, these things you worry about when you're making music, but
never
you never notice.
That. Listen to it 500 times.
Exactly.
Never notice that.
Yeah. I'm so tired.
Oh, now we're talking. My number one Beatles song.
Really?
Every album, yeah.
Really, eh?
It's just,
You're
I mean, in my life,
come on.
And I'm
so you're
so
a John
tired.
guy when it comes to the hits.
the top song.
What about Across the Universe?
No, that doesn't make my list like yours. I don't know why. It was a little too. I like the ones that rock too.
Yeah, I can get you, but would say I'm Only Sleeping.
That one's good too. But I like I'm So Tired better. In My Life, to me, is the most perfect song he ever wrote. It's really hard for me to decide.
What about the Curse or Walter Ellis, all that stuff?
Dude,
you like
so
that?
Perfect to
me. To me, that, yeah, I think that's
I'm So Tired is
him
like
trying to be too cool. He's trying to be too
but it's
smart.
It's like an onomatopoeia.
Okay.
You know, it's like I've never heard music like that it sounds tired. You know, like he wrote a song that just recreates that feeling, and it is so cool, though. I don't give a shit if he's trying to be cool, because he is, and it sounds...
Smart.
Yeah, but he's just talking about he doesn't want to smoke, and Sir Walter Raleigh brought the tobacco to England, you know, like... I think it's just clever. It's Beatlesy. It's like their Englishness, you know, the wit. It's like Ray Davies stuff. It's like the English
but Ray's
wit.
way better at that than John, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know,
I don't deny you that, but I don't know, man. I can't explain that stuff. Why? But I'm so tired.
I think that's one of those takes that tries to get you laid at the tiki room.
And when he just gets in, no, not to me.
I don't think
maybe.
That's, you know, that's like
just when he gets
you're
in
into Blackbird. I'm more of interesting because I'm into Piggies and I'm So Tired.
No, I don't like Piggies.
No one likes Piggies.
But I'm So Tired. Just, you know, when he gets into the. You'd say it's putting me
That's
on.
That's a cool bit for sure.
I wonder, should I call
for a bit of peace of mind?
No, but I wonder, should I call you? But I know what you would do. Yeah. Like, it's like soul, man. It's like John just channeling all of this music at once. You know, it's beautiful to me.
And
it's very personal.
Beatles song?
It's the one that when I listen to it every time I get the most chills. In My Life, to me, is their finest song as a group. I'm So Tired. I'm So Tired. Like, In My Life, to me, is the most perfect like pop song they wrote. But I'm So Tired. I don't know. I know it's like a weird choice, but it's one that I always have on my list. And when I put it on, it just makes me feel like I'm cool for liking this music or something. You know,
Makes you feel cool.
Know. It does.
For choosing obscure Beatles song.
It's not obscure. There's no such thing as that in the Beatles.
See, my favorite song by the Beatles is Blackbird.
Is it?
Actually, my favorite version is the Crosby, Stills and Nash live version at Woodstock.
What is your favorite Beatles song?
Definitely not I'm So Tired. That's such a niche one. I could pick you 3 or 4 off this record that I like more than that. I'll go Dear Prudence for sure is better. I'll go with While My Guitar. Happiness is a Warm Gun's the best song on the record, so that's fine.
Happiness is a Warm Gun and I'm So Tired to me are the best songs on the record.
Okay, so what about well, Blackbird, yeah, like I said, I don't need to say anything more than
Blackbird's wonderful.
Of course, it's just Paul.
It's joyous. It's lovely.
Paul with no penis doing his kind of peace thing, and it's cool.
Beautiful song.
But also, like, we don't own.
But when David and Stephen and I sit down and do our rendition of Blackbird, we knew we were better than the Beatles.
And we were going to make more money.
We knew we were higher. We were higher than the Beatles, and we were better than the Beatles.
Hang on a second here. Let's see. What's this going here? Do I have it? Hang on 1 second here. What's this? Just pulling up this.
That turned out to be our very first album. The Beatles also had the White Album out, and there was one song on that album that we turned into a CSN song. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly.
Oh my God.
All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise.
This is what I'm fucking talking about.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free.
So that's
all right.
that was the Beatles' Blackbird there,
nice.
for anyone who's never heard it before. As performed on the White Album. I don't know what you got next. We're doing well here. We're pretty much done,
Yeah, I think we've pretty much summed it up.
Piggies, don't want to say much about that.
Don't Pass Me By. I like it because...
we're not done yet. We're not done Rocky Raccoon.
Controversial song.
Okay.
Only because most people think it's shit and some think it's great or something.
I don't know. I mean, by this point, I'm skipping songs unless I'm listening on vinyl. I like Rocky Raccoon, but there's a lack of...
I think it's good.
Lack of anything really going on,
I know. That's one that I'm like, when I talk about, like, I think it probably is better than anything I've ever written.
Yeah,
but, like, it's still,
totally.
as far as, you know what I mean? But it's still, like, kind of Beatles. Like, you know how that's when you knew when you were, like, a teenager to play around the campfire? And now it's like, if I'm too drunk that I can't think of anything else, I start playing it and everybody's like, no.
Yeah, no, we're good.
They're like,
Last time I was around a campfire was on in Port Renfrew on Vancouver Island. And
buddy.
Yeah, I know. And I was in a hot tub and I was on acid and I was with my band and there was no beer at this festival. And we were all sat there and I sent Jeff and Brandon to go and get beer. And there was no beer and it was like an after party. And we found one guy who had beer and we were all high. And we said to this guy, like, hey, can we have some of your beer? And he was like, you guys are Yukon Blonde, right? And it was like Jeff and Brandon. They were like, yeah. We just played the festival. He's like, I'll give you a beer if you play My Girl acoustic right now for me. So they like played My Girl for him, and he gave him a beer.
Nice.
That's how much we cost if you want to get us at the festival. Just don't pay us. Pay us in one beer at the end of the night. Okay, why don't we do it in the road?
Okay, so here's my
Don't Pass Me By. Sorry.
Don't Pass Me By. I like it because it's Ringo having a little fun. He wrote it or co-wrote it.
I'm all about it.
I like it. I think it's kind of a fun fiddly.
Don't make me blue.
Yeah. 'Cause you know, darling.
It's kind
I
of
think
a
it's
50s
a fun
Thomas the Tank Engine vibe.
I think it's a fun arrangement by George Martin with a country fiddle. I enjoy it. I actually like it. I think the drums sound wicked on it.
it's a good song. Because it's Ringo's
Like it's
moment.
better than Obla Di Obla Da to me. Don't pass me by.
It's certainly not the worst song on the record. It's better than
No.
Piggies.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Piggies
is that
is
next?
weird, man. I want to go back to it for just 1 second because why did they spend so much time on it?
I don't know.
Like, why did they get a string section in?
And you know the weirdest part is that George had All Things Must Pass written, that song at the time. But for some reason, the Beatles rejected it because there's Beatles demos of it.
Yeah, no, there's something weird going on with George's relationship with wealth and himself hoarding wealth, hating the class distinctions between him and working class and rich people, but also at the same time hating the fact that he's taxed. It's a complicated thing. You could do a whole pod on it.
Of course. And
especially
then you could do a whole
like,
pod on the Manson shit that came out of that song,
exactly,
too.
Yeah, well, isn't that more... well, there is... Yeah, no,
Blackbird
it's true.
and Piggies.
And Hell
he
Skelter,
cited,
which is the
yeah,
next
he
one.
cited, yeah.
Piggies he wrote, didn't he, on... Yeah.
Yeah, but and Blackbird, too.
Yeah.
He thought, yeah.
Why don't we do it in the road rules?
Okay, so I've got a theory about that the sequencing. I love this theory. Every time, when I'm partying and I'm listening to this, I tell everybody this because I love it. That Paul put "Why Don't We Do It in the Road" and "I Will" right next to each other to showcase what a
he could
singer
do.
he was.
Yeah, what he's
because he's
capable of.
screaming.
Yeah.
Why don't we do it in the road? And then it even, I would dare to say, is a shorter gap between the two songs than other songs, because then it goes, who knows how long, and right away it's like beautiful, sweet Paul.
You know that he played everything on Why Don't We Do It in the Road too?
Ringo plays drums.
No.
Yeah, they did, the two of them. No, at
it's
100% for a
Paul
fact.
McCartney, actually.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Ringo
so it's
played
just
drums.
Paul, just so
you hear Ringo going, 100%,
So
buddy.
it's just Paul, buddy.
Nope.
It's just Paul, pal.
Nope,
So.
definitely not.
I'm on the whitealbumproject.org here.
Let's get into this. Is going to be another one like that Graham Parsons. You'll see.
There's been plenty, and they've mostly fallen in my favor. The Graham one didn't, I'll admit it. But.
Anyway, we'll settle this tomorrow night.
I would. Certainly, partner.
We'll settle this down at Coyote's
Thursday night,
open mic night,
open stage night. Partner. I got some of me in a canoe. It's pretty neat.
Do you know that the bass on "I Will" is vocal bass?
I do know it's vocal bass.
I love that. It's very cool.
It's vocal bass. So
I love "I Will." What a pretty song. Okay, a cool thing I know about "I Will," and you people on the pod can get this kind of information
on the internet.
You go to this website www.wikipedia.com. A lot of this is there.
I've been there.
But what I learned is that it was. I actually have this book that I'm getting a lot of this info, including the "Why Don't We Do It in the Road" debate from, which is called "Revolution in the Head."
Yeah,
which is kind of a Beatles person.
Beatlesy kind of.
It lists every song and who played what and how the session went down.
We should. You know what? Actually, sorry to interrupt you. We should We should make it a Patreon goal that we can buy the recording the Beatles book, the really expensive one.
I really want that.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So again, tell your friends, man. We need your help. We're doing this here. We're out here. Our city needs us, and we're doing it, and we're loving it. But if we can get that book, we'll find out more information. We'll be able to talk about microphones.
Because that shit's not on Wikipedia, unfortunately, for us.
It's not.
Anyway, one thing I read in Revolution in the Head, which is another great book, is that "I Will," what he says, the writer in the book, he says, it was a true testament to the Beatles' dedication to recording. That Paul did that song live, the scratch track, with an acoustic guitar with the Indian orchestra that George Martin had compiled, 150 takes.
Right. Interesting.
And it was, when I read that, I was like, Jesus, man, that is just out of control.
Refugee took more than that.
And then finally, when they hit take 152 or something, they were like, think we got it.
Yeah.
But just really cool,
It's cool, but also like, I'm not going to do that.
Of course not.
It's not that good.
I think I do like 8 to 10
It's not that
max.
good. It's not a good one.
No.
It's not particularly good. Julia, it's just about Yoko, innit?
I think it's about his mother.
And Julia. And Yoko.
It is Ocean Child
Yeah.
Calls Me. Do you know
Yeah.
Yoko Ono means Ocean Child?
Exactly.
You know all this. We know this is the thing. Doing Beatles is we're like telling each other
We're
shit
doing
we
the
both know.
musicradar.com.
We're doing, and
We
we're just
are.
telling each other stuff, and we're like,
Oh, I
other
know.
people listening to this, it's so funny, are probably like, everything both of us are saying, some
Yeah.
people are really interested,
And most people are like, yeah, we are.
but you and I are like, kind of like, yeah.
No, most people know this stuff.
Actually,
The thing
you're
is,
right.
most people who listen to this podcast could just do the podcast themselves.
Well, we know that.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of, we're trying to show people that the music is free.
Yeah.
Poetry is free.
And if it wasn't for COVID, everyone would be doing this podcast. And they'd be bigger
Mhm.
than us, honestly.
And the truth is, most people tune in for like that first 30 minutes where we were just talking
Not
about
talking
like,
about the Beatles.
yeah.
Talking about indie mixtapes in Victoria and Vancouver in 2005.
Which we have to create.
I was just thinking we're done here, but I was just I want to just play this. There's a little bit of Longmont on Spotify.
Okay.
I want to just play this for you, and then everyone will hear this in high clarity, but just because
Play it out.
I sent it to you a couple of times recently.
Play it
but
out.
maybe- you know it, but it's a cool medley of these two
Okay.
different ones, so here you go. I'll play it out.
Boss, may I help you?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, I'm more or less wanting to get into to some real specific patterns and different things. Some windswept looks and different stuff like that.
Okay, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Okay. I'm looking for some pleated looks and some cuffed
Pleated?
looks. Yeah.
Pleated what? Pants?
Different things. Yeah, stuff of different nature. Yeah.
Okay, we have a lot of pleated pants.
I mean, maybe I'm going out on a limb or something, but I prefer to think that's more or less sort of a pleated look, a pleated kind of approach. Or maybe,
Okay.
and then I wanted to get,
What's your specific question?
how much would it cost to get like some studded stuff?
We have
Huh.
very few studded things.
Okay, I will, that's more or less what the approach I
You're
wanted.
like echoing or something.
Well, that's yeah, echoey approach, a different kind of approach, sure.
Okay, you're going to have to come into the shop and shop because I have
I've been
no
there.
inkling what you're trying to
Well,
ask, okay?
you know,
Bye.
maybe a woven thing.
What are you looking for, man?
The Montoyan artesian, as far as the regional sound of it.
Montoyan?
Yeah.
What are you getting at? Carlos Montoya?
Yeah, it's partial. There's some lineage. Partial. I can't say for sure how regional that approach.
Man, why don't you call the Lamont School of Music, man?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where they're located, but the one thing I can tell you,
Okay.
if you want to talk about the trombone,
Uh-huh.
in essence, the trombone, you need look no further whatsoever.
Okay.
That's where I'm coming from, and I need the Montoyan artesian connection
I don't have it,
as a
man.
result. You want to put something together, put some sounds together?
Montoyan Artesian Connection.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
That's what I'm interested in. And if it's unavailable, then let's put something together. You know what happened to that kind of approach?
Got me, man.
And if it's unavailable, then let's put something together.
Come on down, we'll talk about it.
Okay, what's your name?
John, man.
Okay, I'm Dudley.
I gotta go, man. I'll see you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
2 classics, those.
Back to back.